Welcome back. Let's take a look at some of your tweets, and we obviously, thanks to the marvels of social media now, can hear exactly what you're thinking, and we can all share in the feelings and the ideas of what's going on this very momentous day in South Africa. Here are some of the messages we can take a look at. Let your legacy live on, Tata Madiba, and then a hashtag Mandela Memorial, which is, it seems, the memorial service today and the hashtag attached to that. Here's one from Lungi Sikwa. Rest in peace, Madiba, Dalibunga, Orlihlahla, Nelson Mandela. We will indeed, MC, I suppose, miss you. Thank you for your legacy you leave behind. Mandela Memorial. Here's another one from my almost, just Maite. Madiba disciplined his anger. A giant has fallen. May his legacy long live. Thankful, Madiba, for your legacy and your example. You'll always stay with us. That one from Asim McLaren. Some very interesting tweets. Lots of very cool messages coming in. This one from Maftown Legends, Legends of House. May Tata Madiba rest in peace, and may his spirit continue to inspire us to live out his legacy. His dream lives on in all of us.
Welcome back. You are live on SABC3. We are mourning the death of an international icon, but Nelson Mandela will live forever. And it's me and you who will make sure of that by upholding these ideas and values. It's all very doable. We can all live Tata Madiba's ideals and values. But how do I know this? Because we're about to introduce you to fellow South Africans who are already doing it. These are people who are making a difference in the lives of those less fortunate. Please help me welcome Chris Motupi, Country Director for Room to Read South Africa, and Aletta Brown from Bikers for Mandela Day. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Such a sad day, but also a celebratory day for all of us South Africans. I don't know if you managed to see the memorial service today. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think, you know, what we have learned from Tata Mandela is that we have to really live his legacy and ensure that his values and his legacy is actually maintained. I mean, this is the message that we have gotten, I mean, throughout the week. And I think as South Africans, we have to do that. That's the only way we can actually, you know, honor Mr. Mandela.
Also, how did how Madiba lived and his humanitarian efforts help you set up the projects that you work with and start contributing there?
I think by becoming part of the change that Madiba started, me as an ordinary citizen has realized how much change, you know, you can, as an individual yourself, can bring along, and how you can inspire people to carry forward the legacy and to ensure that, you know, we continue the movement of goodwill that he has started.
Bikers for Madiba, what is your main objective?
Okay. The objective is there's so many bikers in the country, and people just don't realize what a forceful, you know, group it is. And by encouraging bikers in all different communities, I mean, it stretches as far as India. I've had communication from bikers in India that is on Mandela Day rode for, you know, rode for different projects and different community activities. And so we're encouraging bikers, biker groups, and, you know, different clubs to take up action in their own communities and, you know, to adopt projects in their areas and, you know, to work on them and continuously work on them.
You had major people like Morgan Freeman, Sir Richard Branson come take part. How does that work, and what's the logistical impact of something like that?
Okay, yes, it definitely is. I think the foundation has a good relationship, international relationship with people like both Morgan Freeman and Richard Branson, and that, you know, that obviously made them, you know, very aware of Mandela Day, the Bikers for Mandela Day, and they also support us in, you know, in doing that, and support Mandela Day in a whole.
Chris, what are some of your most notable achievements so far and the aim of your organization?
Well, we believe as Room to Read that the world change starts with educated children. And I was so interested and motivated by Mr. Mandela's quote when he said that education is the great engine for personal development. And it's only through education that a daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, And I looked at that and say, you know, this talks to me directly. And because I'm from that, you know, I've done that before, I said, you know, education is the only way through which we can get kids to achieve what they want in life. And people like you and I, and ordinary South Africans, can actually ensure that children of South Africa and, you know, the world over achieve, you know, their potential by going through education, quality education, so that they can contribute to the world, to their communities, and to the world of them. You know, you look at Tate Mandela's, you know, background. He was a lawyer, and he was able to make use of education to do what? To help, you know, communities, not only South Africa, but the world, you know, all over. And I think this is what we need to do as South Africans.
Your organization has an interesting way of going about doing what you're doing. So would you care to expand on that?
As Room to Read, we work with communities to, you know, implement literacy projects. And we look for people, ordinary people, you know, who can tell good stories in indigenous languages. And we, you know, publish those stories so that the books can then be, you know, given to schools for free. But of course, I always say that whatever schools get, it's not really for free because somebody pays for it. And we then train teachers. We then work with learners in primary schools to improve their literacy levels and also ensure that we build, you know, libraries. We you know, publish books, we train teachers, we work with government and Department of Education, and especially communities out there. I can tell you that our projects are well supported, and I need to hasten and indicate that...
I actually wanted to ask you now, because, you know, it is great to start an organization, right? And it can be all idealistic and have wonderful things that it wants to achieve. But practically, what has both of your organizations been able to accomplish that stands out as a beacon of what is possible to be achieved?
Well, in terms of Room to Read, we have so far, throughout the countries in which we work, established 16,000 libraries, and we have built 1,750 schools. We have published about 880, you know, books in indigenous languages spoken in, you know, Zambia, Tanzania, you know, South Africa, you know, and, you know, all the other 7 Asian countries in which we work. And this we have been able to do because we partner with communities, and some of the communities actually volunteer to work in our projects. And in South Africa, for example, in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo, we've got lots and lots of volunteers who help manage our libraries. People who, you know...
Ordinary people.
Exactly.
Alta, for you, quickly a couple of...
I think my most recent one is the bikers drive that we did in Limpopo with a group of bikers that's actually very involved already in charity runs. And we set up a whole centre for AIDS orphans, you know, that we put up you know, that we put up a home for them and fenced off and a vegetable garden to make them more self-sustainable.
Awesome. Thank you so much for visiting with us and sharing us practical ways that we can get involved. Not just talk it, but do it. The way Tate Madiba probably would have definitely wanted us to do. We are going to a music video by an icon who's unfortunately also departed, who used to be a really, really big fan of Tate Madiba. Since Tate has such an overwhelming passion for children, this particular song speaks to that. I hope you enjoy it with us.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found it
One of many amazing facts about Tata, which probably influenced the activist in him, is that when he was a child, he grew up in the Kunu village, where there was intense rivalry between two tribes, Amaphengo and Xhosas. Tata was obviously isiXhosa, and Amaphengo were not original Xhosa speakers. They were refugees from Shaka Zulu's armies, and they were looked down upon and did jobs other Africans refused to do. But Tata's dad did not subscribe to the local prejudice and befriended two Amaphengo brothers.
Well, maybe, just maybe, that's how Madiba learned to treat all people equally without prejudice or discrimination. As a parent, that should make you think. And what values you're bequeathing to your children obviously come into that too. How can you raise children who will embody ideals and values that Tata taught us?
Tsepiso Matenji Molefe, educational psychologist, life coach and trainer, works with orphaned and vulnerable children, runs workshops on personal mastery and emotional intelligence. Tsepiso, welcome very much to our couch here. You know, activist, early on in his life, a lot of people subscribe to the notion that a lot of your child's behavior is already set and established before they turn 6. Some even say before they turn 10. What is your take on that and your perspective?
I think a lot of it is about how it's nurtured. It's about the environment that nurtures your child to be able to speak their mind, to be able to argue with you. One of the things that we find in schools is that we struggle with children who are not able to think critically, who are not able to be creative, who are not able to argue, to judge. They're not able to be independent in how they make decisions and think about the consequences. And all of that has to do with the kind of environment, not so much what you are teaching them, but what you are nurturing, because a lot of it has to do with what you are modeling, what you're consistently teaching and demonstrating in your behavior. So we tend to be saying one thing as parents and doing the other. And I think the example that he gives us is that you have to live it. And it's not just in what you live in a moment where there's no crisis, but it's also in terms of challenging, taxing moments where your character is actually being tested, that we actually have to demonstrate those values as well.
It's a mark of someone's intelligence that they have a curious mind and that they ask questions, that they're not afraid to ask questions, I should think.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that, you know, it's occasionally okay to argue. I think a lot of parents exact obedience out of their children rather than the ability to sit down and argue. I mean, that's, as you really have
it's a typical South African thing, and it's across the race. It's important for us to mention that it doesn't matter whether the child is coming from an Afrikaans or a black family, Zulu, Xhosa or whatever. We tend to have the belief that our children should be seen and not heard. And when a parent speaks, the child must listen. And yes, absolutely, the fundamentals of that teachings are important for the child to understand what is wrong and what the boundaries are. However, you do want your child to be able to ask you why. Why not this? What if that? What are the consequences? And also to be able to know that I can trust my father and my mother to know what they are doing, because of if I hadn't, these are the consequences that I see. And no matter what mistake I make, they will love me unconditionally. More often we tend to make very rigid boundaries and expect that the child lives within those. And they think if I cross it, I will not be loved. And most of the parents would say, we will disown you if you do not follow the rules. Whereas we're actually supposed to teach them that we will love you unconditionally, no matter what. Yes, you can make mistakes, will punish you. There's consequences to it. But the parameters are there to guide you, not to exclude you. And therefore prejudice and bigotry is not, there's no room for it. You can embrace people who are different to you, who are doing things differently.
Can I ask you something? As a psychologist now, and it's not going to be a personal therapy session, but I think a national therapy session. We've lost, for many people, a father figure. There are many people who grew up in South Africa without parents.
Yes.
Madiba might have represented a grandfatherly or a fatherly figure for many of these people. How important is it that fathers, that men, step up and take responsibility for their families?
Absolutely important. And we tend to speak about fathers in terms of disciplining, being the authority figure, being the decision making and providing the structure for the family. In my practice, I meet parents who deliver their babies at home. I meet parents who share breastfeeding or feeding the baby using the bottle. They share all the duties that they feel if my child cannot see me do this, they will never know what it's like to love. Love in a way that doesn't mean hard, very strict, but love in a touchy-feely, cuddly kind of way, which we don't associate with men a lot. So it's absolutely important. But more than that, For our boys, it models what it looks like to be a man on a daily basis, what it looks like to carry a family, what it looks like to handle a struggle. For a girl...
Also to be human.
And also to be human. But for a girl, it is a very powerful statement about what kind of a man I want to love me, to caress me, to be able to nurture me and challenge me. Because that's what my dad has taught me. If anybody gives me less, then you're not good enough for me. You don't need to buy me with money or flowers for me to love you. There's certain values that I have that my dad has demonstrated. And therefore, I will hold you to those. And if you can't, then you're not good enough for me.
Wow. So there's some food for thought for the people watching. Thank you very much for coming to share that with us. So after the break, we chat to a young individual who's found a passion and purpose in life following in the footsteps of the great man.
Stay with us as we honor the memory of Tata Madiba.